All right, we're gonna remove the stereo in the 2007 Solara. This is for my son Caesar's 18th birthday car that he got.
Hello.
And first step is to remove the center console. You will have to remove this little plastic piece that sits in that area to expose that button. Once you expose that button, you can move this into the reversed area. And then start by popping out, open up your center console and popping out these two to be able to pop out with a tool. I recommend these tools. I'll have a link in the description for these. I ordered mine on Amazon, and you can pop these out really easily with using this. Don't use a screwdriver because you'll tear up your dash. So let's go ahead and remove the center console. So here's an external video of the car setup, and you can see we've already removed the center console right there. We're going to want to remove this centerpiece right there, and then start working our way. I think there's two screws or Phillips, and we need to remove that to pop this off so we can get to the stereo area, and that's going to be our next step. We'll have this in time-lapse mode, so you'll see the operation. If you need to pause it, you can pause it, and I'll probably make some commentary throughout the destruction of all this. Here we go. So here we're just taking apart that bottom portion, disconnecting all the wires. Make sure you kind of wrap or take a picture of where everything goes in case you need to know where it's going. I'm undrilling the two screws that we talked about. Popped out that center console. You can see that there. Now I'm looking for size, I believe it's 12. If it's not 12, it's going to be 10, typical Toyotas. And removing the two bolts down here, and then you got to pop off that top part, which I'll show you here in a second. Really quick, this thing is hard to get out. The best thing to do is get a pry tool and pop this guy out. Use a glove and stick your thumb in here and pop this out. There's no way I could have pulled it out. I've seen other videos of the guys pulling it from here. That was pretty tough. But then he recommended pulling this guy out, and that worked. I stuck my thumb in here and popped this out. And that was the best way to get this top part off. Let's go ahead and disassemble all the connections here. So yeah, once you pop that out, you unplug that power, and you should be good to go for that that portion. I just kind of leave it sitting up there. This car was actually purchased to my son from an offer-up deal. I think they turned it in, and it had a lot of weird stuff on the dashboard, so it's all scratched up. So in the future, I most likely will help him replace it. But here I'm taking apart the packs. So we're going to put a PAX in. The PAX basically allows you to use the original Bose JBL system that's in here, which is the amp on these Toyotas. I had to get one for my Tundra. The one that we specifically got was the RP4.2 TY11, which is intended for Toyota, Lexus, Scion vehicles. And it keeps your steering wheel controls as well as your JBL amp. And I also noticed it's got a plug-in for your OBD2, which is like your car's computer. You give feedback, and I'm not sure if my stereo supports it, but we will check it out. So I'm going to go ahead and wire all this up. They give you a nice little diagram right here where all the interfaces stuff go, and this just makes life easier so you can still utilize those steering wheel controls. There will be a link in the description, but essentially there is a broken down system down here that tells you how you want to have your dip switches. There's one for Alpine, JVC, another one for Kenwood, Clarion, 2-wire resistive, must be a company, Pioneer, or others, Sony, and Fusion. So most likely I'm going to be other. So if we go down here on the asterisk and it says other is Dual, Xera. These brands could also use 2-wire resistive, Jensen, Rockford, Fosgate. So that's what I'm going to follow. And 1, 2, and 3 dip switch. 1, 2, and 3. It's a red one out here. Just going to put those up, and hopefully that would satisfy our need here. And then the rest is going to be pretty much just wiring up all the connectors. See, the thing is with this is that you have all your colors labeled pretty simple. You don't need to cut wires in your harness. These all just hook up cleanly, and there's no need to strip wires or anything like that. So it's going to make it really, really clean to do that. So you're not going to need all of them. It actually tells you here, vehicle 2 connector, vehicle connector 3. So depending on what vehicle you have, that's what you're going to use. And these are the male ends, and these are the female ends. There's 3, here's 1 right there. So let's see which one matches this. I think this one here was for the AC control, so we'll set those aside. And this big blue one right here looks like it's going to match this guy. So the blue one goes to the vehicle 1 connector. The next one we have 2 other sets. One of these is for volume control, the other one is for, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So vehicle control 2, see if it tells you here. Doesn't really indicate. Plug interfaces connectors 1, 2, and 4 into the appropriate ports for your Toyota interface using the diagram on page 1 or the label on the bottom of the RPT2 version interface. So I guess there's a label down here. Okay, so there's interface connector 2. There's 1, so the other end will go here for 1. So let's find out where number 2 goes, because it's asking for number 2 and 4. So here's 2. It does not appear that 2 matches anything because that's too small, and that's too small. So I'm going to skip to 3. That looks like it matches. And even though it's about the same size, it's not the same match. Let's try this one. Yep. So interface 3 goes into the next connector that's in that family. Nope. So I'm going to hook all this up and figure out what's going on here. It might be the amplified audio output. So it says here, depending on the application, you will need 2 or 3 of the 5 vehicle connectors. The additional connectors will be left unused on the harness. Any additional radio harness in the vehicle that did not plug into the one of the vehicle's connectors above will not be used. Below you will find the combinations needed for most vehicles. So here we go. 2004 to 2013 amplified will be vehicle connector 1 and vehicle connector 3, which is exactly what we have here. So that's why we're not using that other one. All right. So I think we're good to go. I think we got the amplified area correct for this portion, and let's rock and roll with the rest of the connections. So I'm gonna just follow this example on the sheet. This is again for the PAX connector. So just verify all your settings are correct based off the article that they provide. Your instructions are pretty good, and it's also again based off your vehicle. So because this PAX is intended for Toyotas, it's very similar to my 2008 Tundra. I had to use those 2 connectors that were talked about earlier, and as well as the input using the right power. The ODB2 sensor cable is really to pull power if you don't have any power in your vehicle, but if you have red and yellow, you should be good. So here's me using the brackets that I bought with my harness. These brackets came right here, and I'm using the original hookup system here for the AC. And you can see the stereo deck all put together. Looks beautiful. The color matches pretty dang good. Maybe slightly lighter, but no, nothing to cry about. I mean, it looks really, really cool. And the stereo deck is just clean. Just sits in there right there. And there's our AC air controls. And this is just gonna sit right back in there. But before we do that, we need to wire it all up, making sure it works. Do a dry run. So I'm separating my wires. I put a zip tie with this guy to separate in case my son wants to input something like audio and video, like a game system. where he can play. I'm probably gonna run the wires down here at the bottom where my foot's at. So that's for that. And then of course we got our wires for the color harness that goes right there. And this one actually comes with a schematic that's wrapped around it. I think they say AT80, whatever how you pronounce this, the company name. It does a really good job of labeling and bringing good quality screen protectors with it, unlike other China knockoffs that aren't as good. So here's your radio harness connection. You got your power antenna, and it's all labeled here. So it's just a matter of hooking all this up. This is essentially gonna be hooked up to the harness that we hooked up all these guys to. So there'll be some color coding right there, as you can see, and those wires, and I'll be making those connections. I do not have crimpers, so I'm gonna have to result in just using electrical tape for now, but it's mainly just for testing anyway. I know it sucks that you have a bunch of other connectors and you're not going to use, but that's just the way it is. And again, I'll be using some of these cables here for hooking up the audio. Just got to figure out where it's all going. All right, moment of truth. We're getting power to the deck. Let's see what happens.
I see it.
Oh, there it is. Atato. We got the Google logo showing up.
So almost 30 seconds for the speed up time.
So much for 2 seconds. Okay, you got sounds there. Okay, so this is where you're gonna program your steering wheel controls. Hit that right there. And then it says press and hold the button on the steering wheel to start learning and matching. So first thing we're gonna do is let's do the volume down. Press and hold it.
Oh, select one from below. Can you push the power down?
Okay, looks like it saved it. So it's gonna highlight it when it saves it. So now we're gonna do the positive. Go ahead and hit the positive.
So then,
Done. This is actually a lot easier than the one I was setting up. So pause for a second. So let me show you guys really quick. A lot of this is just hooking this up and matching the pairs. The schematic, I'll post a picture of it, but basically it's this. You just got to work your way down from the top. We have an aftermarket, let me step back. We have an aftermarket stereo, so it's Pioneer/Other. So we're going to use 1, 2, and 3 steps. First step is hooking up the connectors, which we did. And then you're going to follow the color codes on this aftermarket radio table here. So you're going to follow purple, that's rear R plus, and then purple/black, that's rear R minus, and so on and so on. Where it gets tricky is what we're doing right now is your key 1 and key 2 is for steering wheel programming, and you also have this 3.5 millimeter jack. I don't know why they have 2. Maybe somebody can point that out, but you can see right here it comes with a harness. You plug that into the back of the stereo deck. There'll be a link to this stereo deck specifically because honestly it's one of the easiest ones I've set up with it, and you can see it's really small. There's not much to it. It's just like a tablet. It's pretty cool. And then I actually have these connectors that I use for my son's car to like crimp them, and then it actually held it down pretty good. So we're gonna finish programming this and we'll be right back.
We'll probably discuss the wedding while he's here. In fact, I have finished the guest list, and good news, I've kept it small, just 300 people. 300?
Looks good. Now just gotta hook up the front camera and the rear one, and we're good to go. All right, guys, so this car came with a reverse camera, and I put it right there in the center. There's actually a flat area that you could see right there above the plate. And I ran my wire all through here. The beautiful thing about the wire, it gives you your ground, it gives you your positive that you need for that backlight. So I have the backlight on right now. It comes with 2 cameras, one for the front for recording, for crazy drivers and one for the back. So I'm gonna have my son Caesar show it off right now. So right now we're looking at the reverse, and it's looking a little funny because we're inside of fluorescent lighting, so it's not gonna look very good at inside my garage. Go ahead and put it in forward. So here's the stereo. We're gonna go into the camera for the front now. ATATO did a great job on this system. Really proud of it. So that camera actually runs right here. Look how solid that looks. It's metal. You can adjust it. I believe you can even put an SD card right here.
You can put an SD card through there.
Yeah. And give us your feedback on the stereo so far.
It's really nice.
Yeah. Show us a movie. So if you guys are Plex users, I'm a Plex user. You can run Plex on there, which is pretty cool. While he does that, you can see how snappy that is. It's pretty quick. But let me show you this camera wire right here. Runs all the way down here. You can pop these out. I highly recommend using the plastic tools that are below this video. And then I ran that sucker down. I fished it with a close line hook, fished it through, and then fished it that way. And for the back one, I fished it from down here all the way along the side through here into the side of where that speaker's at back there, all the way to the back. So here's part of Marty McFly, Back to the Future. We got the steering wheels control working. 2007 Solara. I know the camera doesn't do it justice, but that looks pretty dang good. Actually, that's not bad right there. And that's streaming from a Wi-Fi connection that's pretty strong. I did have a challenge with the framing. I had to actually modify and drill some holes. It didn't sit correctly, and I don't know if it's because of the stereo. Most likely it's because the stereo doesn't go with this frame correctly, but I was able to modify it to hold it, because you don't want it to slide around and push in and push out. But pretty decent video. Stereo works amazing, and we got all the functionality working as we should. We ran a mic here. It comes with a mic as well for your speaking. Some people run it up here at the top visor, but I didn't want to do that. I think it'll work fine there, and the cable's long enough if we ever need to move it. All right, any final thoughts?
Well, there's the video out right there.
Oh yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. So I actually ran RCA. We haven't tested it out yet, but RCA inputs for both component yellow and red and blue right here. We haven't tested it out yet, but there's inputs for that, so you can have auxiliary inputs. And Caesar has the Wilks controls right there, so he can move to that different source. And yeah, pretty awesome stereo, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. This is a Solara 2007 convertible install. Not a bad setup.